How can we go about building a solid financial foundation without relying on a tedious budget? I'm Mike Loader, and Investment Insights starts right now. Hello and welcome back to Investment Insights, presented by the team at The Investor's Way, where each episode we provide informative interviews about wealth creation alongside practical tips of how you can master your money. Today we'll be discussing why building a strong financial foundation is so important, especially in this day and age. Joining me now is my co-host Andrew Woodward from The Investor's Way. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. Give us a rundown a little bit about you and The Investor's Way, just to start.
Okay, so thanks for having me to start with. What a great series we're going to be putting on. My journey started a little over nine years ago when I was challenged by a mentor, a business mentor, to share what I'd done for myself. So he knew how passionate I was about growing wealth, money management, and he knew what I'd done for myself. So he said, let's get this information out there, and challenged me to share it with a broader community.
Absolutely, and I feel like if you can teach someone something, it means you've learned it really well.
Well, you should have if you're going to start teaching people, that's for sure.
But in preparation for the program here with me and Tika, you've done some research, a lot of research, I understand. Tell us a bit about what you found and what you were looking forward to bringing to the table.
So look, the first thing that we looked at is this statistic, and it's an old one, but it's still current, and that is that 95% of the population are going to retire with not enough assets to support their lifestyle. And so that means 5% are going to be pretty much on the poverty line or living on the pension.
Yeah.
So I want you to imagine that we've just gone to the AFL Grand Final.
Yep.
100,000 people in the stadium, and there's this little section where they're all wearing the same colour. And there's about 5,000 people in that section. Well, they're all the ones that are going to be able to support their lifestyle, but the rest of the crowd is not going to be able to support their lifestyle.
And for our international guests, it's a big stadium.
It's a big stadium.
Yeah.
And to take that even one step further, imagine that those 5,000 people are the only ones who can buy beers and pies. And the other 95,000 people are going to be left to support themselves on whatever they've got or brought on the day. So that's a fairly stark reality that so many people are going to get to retirement and not be able to live on what the pension provides for them. And so we really need to bring that into focus and get people to be more proactive. And so this series is all about encouraging people to be proactive with their money management and growing their wealth before it's too late.
Absolutely.
Because it's so important that they do things on a consistent basis.
Absolutely, and of course doing it earlier rather than later and not putting it off. I was saying to you off air how much I would have loved to have had certain things taught to me at a younger age, which is why I'm glad you're with me. Yeah. There are some stark realities we obviously need to be facing when it comes to our financial futures. Take us through a little bit more about how we can go about managing those things, and I guess a little bit more about what we'll be discussing on the program.
Yeah, so let's look at that example and take it a little bit further. So our audience, let's assume that our audience, their average income's between $80,000 and $100,000. And so they're living off that at the moment and enjoying the benefits of that type of money. But fast forward to retirement, and that money is no longer available because they're not working, and they're going to have to rely on a pension. Now, that's going to be potentially a few $100s a week, a couple of $100s a week. Not going to be a great lifestyle compared to what they've got now. And I often get people say to me that, well, we're just going to rely on our superannuation or our retirement account if you're living outside of Australia.
That old adage, yeah.
Yeah. Well, statistics have just come out again saying that for the majority of the Australian population, they are not going to have enough in their superannuation to live off their super only. And so they are still going to be dependent on that pension. And so that provides, again, a real urgency about taking action now. And we don't know what's going to happen with superannuation. We know just in the last election cycle that it was a hot topic and it generated a lot of heat. Yeah. And so we just don't know what's going to happen and whether or not rule changes will change how much we can have in our super. So we've got to have a plan B.
And that's where you and I come in, and the program, The Investor's Insights. So we're going to be looking at a range of topics. Going from $2,000 per week to living off the pension means people really need to start taking their budget seriously. Just to finish, that is the real like what you wanted to get through just for today, right?
Well, the interesting thing is that when it comes to budgets, it's a bit of a dirty word in my business.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking a lot about the alternative to a budget, which is definitely something that's going to build greater success. And we're going to talk a lot about building a foundation. So the foundation is like, let's compare it to building a house. So the foundations in the ground keep the house from falling over. So money management is the thing that keeps our investing going. So throughout this series, we're going to talk about a lot of different topics, but it's all going to be built from a foundation of solid money management practices, which doesn't include a budget.
Well, I'm glad you're here, Andrew, because this is going to be a great series, and I want to thank you for joining me on the program for our first chat, and I look forward to getting into this a lot deeper in the next one.
I look forward to it as well.
All right, now, thank you for joining us on the program. Just to remember, the information provided in this program is, of course, for general informational purposes only and does not constitute professional financial advice. Do your own research. Make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. I've been your host, Mike Loader. Thank you so much for watching, and head to Ticker for more. Be well.
You're watching Ticker. We'll have more in just a few minutes.